The story begins with a deadly asteroid heading straight toward Earth. To stop it, humans launched nuclear missiles and destroyed it mid-space. But what no one expected was that the asteroid's nuclear radiated fragments rained down on Earth. These radioactive particles altered the DNA of all cold-blooded creatures: ants, spiders, snakes, lizards, and turned them into gigantic monsters. For a whole year, a brutal war was fought against these creatures. Most of them were killed, but at a terrible cost. Bullets, weapons, and even the military were nearly wiped out. 95% of humanity perished, and the few survivors were forced to hide inside underground bunkers. This is the story of one of those survivors, Joel. Joel's story began the night he was with his girlfriend, Aimee, sharing a quiet moment in his car. Suddenly, glowing particles from the asteroid rained down on their city. Moments later, a massive creature appeared and attacked. Joel and Aimee rushed home only to find chaos. Everyone was evacuating. In the panic, Joel and Aimee got separated. Before leaving, Joel promised her, "I'll find you no matter what." But tragedy struck. While escaping with his family, their car was caught by one of the gigantic beasts. Joel managed to jump out, but his parents were trapped inside. In their final moments, his mother begged him to run. Helplessly, Joel staggered away, just as the monster's enormous foot crushed the car with his parents inside. Watching his family die in front of his eyes, Joel was frozen in shock. Other survivors pulled him into a truck and dragged him away, but Joel could never recover from that trauma. 7 years passed. Joel was still alive, living with the same group that had saved him. Their underground bunker became his only home. Unlike the others, Joel had no partner, no family. He cooked, cleaned, and helped inside, but because of his fear and panic, he was never allowed to go outside. Whenever he saw those giant creatures, he froze, unable to move. That fear ruled his life. One day, disaster struck. A massive ant broke into the bunker. The group armed themselves to fight it, but when Joel tried to join them, they stopped him. "You'll freeze again, Joel. Stay back." 4 of the fighters went to battle while the rest watched through a thermal camera. In the fight, one of their men was caught in the monster's jaws. Watching his friends in danger, Joel couldn't hold back anymore. He rushed forward, only to see the shadow of the ant, its huge mandibles holding their teammate. Terror gripped Joel, and once again, he froze in place. The giant ant turned toward him. Joel shut his eyes, expecting the worst. But when he opened them, he saw the ant's severed head lying at his feet. 2 of his group members had killed it just in time. Joel was shaken, but this moment changed something inside him. To cope with his fear, Joel started talking to someone over the radio. To his shock, it was Aimee. She had survived too, living in another distant colony. For the first time in 7 years, Joel felt alive again. They talked happily, sharing their pain and memories. Joel promised her once again, "I'll come find you." But suddenly, the radio went dead. After facing death today, Joel was really disturbed. He didn't want to spend the rest of his life sitting inside a bunker, just waiting for his end. So he asked his companions, "How far is Aimee's colony from here?" They replied, "Aimee's colony is about 140 kilometers west, built on a beach. But Joel, it takes at least 7 days to get there. And listen carefully. Even a trained survivor can't last more than 3 or 4 days outside. You won't even last an hour, son." But Joel had already made up his mind. Either he would reach Aimee or he would die trying. Deep down, Joel also felt that maybe he didn't belong in this bunker, that he was just a burden to everyone. But in reality, that wasn't true at all. His friends truly cared about him. That's why, to help him, they even drew a map so he could find his way to Aimee's colony. And so, after all these years, Joel finally stepped out of the bunker. Aimee's colony was 140 kilometers west, but Joel had no clue which way west actually was. Without thinking much, he just started walking. Not far ahead, he suddenly heard the sound of a huge creature. Joel quickly ran and hid inside a house nearby. But there, in the pond, a giant frog was already waiting. The sight of it froze Joel completely. The moment the frog lashed out its long tongue to grab him, someone suddenly pushed Joel aside, saving him. It was none other than a dog. But the frog wasn't done yet. It attacked again, wrapping its sticky tongue around Joel's leg. In a desperate move, the dog bit hard into the frog's tongue, forcing it to release Joel. And without wasting another second, both Joel and the dog ran for their lives. Soon after, the dog climbed into an abandoned bus. Joel followed him in and realized this bus was the dog's home, where he used to live with his owner. His owner, sadly, was probably dead. On the wall inside, Joel saw the word boy written. Out of curiosity, he said, "Boy." The dog instantly perked up, and that's when Joel realized the dog's name was Boy. Joel then noticed a red dress lying in the bus. The moment he picked it up, Boy suddenly snatched it back almost angrily. Joel understood right away. This dress was the last memory of Boy's owner. Joel spent the night inside inside the bus, and the next morning, he got ready to leave. But as he stepped outside, Boy followed him, carrying that same red dress. It was clear Boy wanted to come along. Joel smiled, tucked the dress into his bag, and welcomed Boy as his new companion. Together, they began their dangerous journey across the devastated land, step by step, moving closer to their destination. Along the way, Joel spotted some fruits hanging on a strange plant. Starving, he reached out to eat them, but just then, Boy tugged at his leg, warning him not to. Joel immediately understood. Those fruits must be poisonous. As they kept moving, Joel continued to write down his experiences in a notebook, recording every moment of this deadly adventure. But suddenly, without warning, Joel fell into a massive pit. As he tried climbing back out, he realized he wasn't alone down there. Scattered across the ground were giant bones, meaning he wasn't going to be this thing's first victim. Out of nowhere, a swarm of blood-sucking insects attacked him, vicious and lightning fast. Joel struggled, but it was hopeless. And just when it seemed like the end, a rope dropped down. Someone pulled him up to safety. This man's name was Clyde, and standing beside him was a little girl, Minnow. Don't be fooled by her size, though. She was deadly in her own way. With a single grenade, she wiped out the swarm of insects in one explosive blast. Clyde looked at Joel and said, "You really shouldn't be wandering out here alone." Joel quickly replied, "I'm not alone. I have a dog with me, and I'm on my way to find my girlfriend, Aimee. She's in her colony." Clyde nodded and said, "Well, I'm headed north, into the mountains where there's snow. There's a special colony there. The cold keeps those creatures away. For a while, our paths are the same. If you want, you can travel with us." Joel agreed, and together, they continued. After a while, they stopped on a mountain. Minnow began teaching Joel how to use a crossbow, but Joel's aim was terrible. Minnow then shared her story. Her father was the best archer in their colony. But when a swarm of those deadly creatures attacked, her father died, and so did Clyde's son. Since then, Clyde and Minnow had been searching for a safe colony where they could live in peace. Suddenly, Clyde spotted a creature moving toward them through the forest. He told Joel, "It's already caught your scent. That means it's going to follow you for a very, very long time." Luckily, they managed to escape. The truth was, Clyde and Minnow had been surviving on Earth for a long time, and they knew more about these creatures than anyone. Further ahead, Clyde noticed a giant snail. He whispered to Joel, "Don't move." Joel was already frozen in fear anyway. Clyde calmly told him to take off his t-shirt. He placed the shirt on the snail, and the massive creature slowly slid away without harming them. Joel, confused, asked, "Why didn't it attack us?" Clyde explained, "Not all creatures are bad, some are good." Minnow added softly, "If you're ever confused, just look into their eyes. Eyes never lie." That night, they stopped to rest and eat. But soon Clyde woke them up suddenly. Their food's scent was attracting more creatures. Staying there any longer would be too dangerous. The next morning, Minnow continued Joel's crossbow training. She said, "Clear your mind completely before you shoot." And every time Joel managed to stay calm, his arrows hit the target perfectly. Minnow was overjoyed. She hugged Joel tightly. In her young heart, she had begun to see him as the big brother she had lost. Days passed this way. Clyde and Minnow kept teaching Joel everything: how to survive, how to avoid deadly creatures, and even which plants could neutralize poisonous bites. Finally, they told him about the deadliest creature of all, the sand gobbler. These monsters move underground, tracking every vibration, every sound with terrifying precision. But the most dangerous of them all is their queen. She's massive, several times larger than the others. You can spot her because one of her wings sticks out above the ground. Clyde warned, "If the queen hears even the faintest sound from you, it's game over. Nobody who has ever faced the sand gobbler queen has survived." Meanwhile, Minnow kept training Joel day after day. With her guidance, Joel grew stronger, faster, and better with the crossbow. Slowly, he was turning into a real survivor. 5 days later, they finally reached the point where their paths would separate. Clyde looked at Joel and said, "Why don't you just come with us? Surviving alone won't be easy. If we stick together, our chances are much higher." But Joel's heart was set on only one thing: finding Aimee. Nothing else mattered. Minnow was deeply saddened by his decision. Joel gently explained, "Aimee means everything to me." With tears in her eyes, Minnow hugged him tightly one last time. Before parting, Clyde handed Joel a grenade. He said firmly, "Only use this when you have no other choice. Pull the pin, count to 5, and then throw it. Remember, count to 5. And with that, they went their separate ways. Now Joel and Boy had to cover 50 kilometers on their own. But this journey was not going to be easy. After walking for a while, they reached a place where Boy suddenly began acting strange. He refused to move forward and hid nervously under a paddle boat. Joel was calling him out when suddenly, dozens of legs emerged from beneath his feet. It was a massive centipede. Panicking, Joel pulled out his crossbow, but the creature was already too close. Its tail was about to grab him when Boy's barking startled it. The centipede lashed out, whipping Joel with its tail and throwing him far away. Then it turned on Boy. Surrounding the boat, it flipped it over, ready to strike. Lying on the ground, Joel's mind flashed back to the night he lost his parents. The same helplessness, the same fear. But this time, Joel refused to freeze. He stood up, pushed past his fear, and fired an arrow straight into the centipede's neck. The beast let out a furious screech and charged at Joel. At the very last moment, Joel steadied his hand, released another another arrow, and it struck the creature right in the head. The centipede collapsed, dead. Joel stood trembling, his body shaking. He couldn't believe it. He had actually killed a monster that huge. And then he saw a boy running toward him, alive. Joel hadn't been able to save his parents, but today he had faced his fear and saved Boy's life. The next morning, they reached a massive pit. Boy once again grew restless, barking and running nervously. Joel instantly knew danger was close, and then he saw it, a massive wing sticking out of the ground. It was her, the queen of the sand gobblers. Thinking fast, Joel threw a small toy far away. The sound drew her attention, and the queen erupted from the ground, tearing it apart as she followed the noise. Joel didn't waste a second. He ran. The queen thundered after him. In the chaos, Joel tripped, crashing hard, his bag flying out of reach. He and Boy hid inside a hollow tree trunk. Joel clamped his hand over Boy's mouth. Silence was their only chance. For a moment, it worked. The queen began to retreat. But then, from Joel's fallen bag, Aimee's red dress slipped into the river. Boy saw it, and without a thought for his own safety, he bolted after it. Joel tried to stop him, but it was too late. The queen turned back toward them, sensing movement. Desperate, Joel ran to his bag, grabbed the grenade, and yanked the pin. 1, 2, 3. But then, the grenade slipped from his hands. As Joel scrambled to pick it up, the queen was already upon him. But Joel, in a rush of desperation, shoved the grenade straight into the queen's mouth and leapt into the river. The explosion tore the monstrous creature into pieces. Joel couldn't believe it. He had actually done it. He was laughing like a madman, overwhelmed with relief. But his joy quickly turned into anger. He looked at Boy furiously. Climbing out of the water, Joel suddenly noticed strange leech-like creatures clinging to his skin. Panicked, he began ripping them off one by one. Still furious, Joel shouted at Boy, "Because of that stupid dress, we almost died today." Boy lowered his ears, hurt, and then silently he walked away, leaving Joel behind. Joel stumbled, his body weakening as the poison from the leeches spread through his veins. His vision blurred, strange hallucinations taking over his mind. Barely able to walk, he collapsed to the ground. Through the haze, Joel spotted a plant. One he recognized could neutralize the poison. Summoning his last bit of strength, he ate it. The dizziness dulled, but he was too weak to continue. He sat down against a rock, exhausted. And then he saw her. After 7 long years, she stood before him. Joel, dazed and overwhelmed, kissed her instantly, before slipping back into unconsciousness. When he awoke, Joel realized he was inside Aimee's colony. Seeing her again, alive and real, filled him with joy and disbelief. Aimee gently told him to rest. Joel smiled and said, "After all these years, kissing you again felt incredible." But Aimee hesitated. Then she revealed the truth. "Joel, you didn't kiss me. You kissed this old man." Joel froze in embarrassment. Aimee went on to explain. A group of survivors had recently arrived, led by a ship's captain who was helping people reach a safe base, far from the monsters. At first, Joel felt something strange about all this, but before he could ask more, Aimee was called away. Later, when Joel stepped outside, he was stunned by the beauty of the colony, built underground, yet close to the ocean, protected by the one thing the monsters feared. Aimee walked over, smiling, just as the captain and his men approached. She introduced Joel proudly. "This is Joel. He made it here on foot. A journey of 7 days." The captain was impressed. "Remarkable. I was army before all this. Now I ferry survivors to the safe base. No more monsters. Just peace." But when Joel finally got a moment alone with Aimee, he asked the question that had been haunting him. "Aimee, I came all this way just to see you. Why don't you look happy to see me?" Aimee's eyes lowered. "Joel, so much has changed. I lost my parents, and last year, I lost the man I truly loved." Joel's heart shattered. The world around him collapsed in silence. He realized the bitter truth. He had never even asked Aimee if she wanted him to come, and Aimee admitted it too. "I should have told you on the radio. I should have been honest." Then she looked at him softly and said, "But still, I'm glad you're here. We'll go with the captain. We'll finally be safe. And Joel, we can always be friends." Joel's chest tightened and said only friends? He had fought through 140 kilometers of death, battled monsters the size of dinosaurs, risked his life at every step for this? And now, Aimee was friend-zoning him. Joel sat there, his mind a storm. He didn't know whether to cry, scream, or laugh. All he knew was, this wasn't the ending he had imagined. After some time, Joel tried to contact his colony through the radio, but the connection didn't go through. Just then, the old man walked up to Joel, carrying some fruits and a beer. He said it was a gift from the captain, for the entire colony, to celebrate a new beginning. Joel then opened the map that his friends had given him. On the back, they had written little messages for him. Reading them, Joel got emotional. He realized just how much his colony loved him, and here he was, chasing after a girl he hadn't seen in 7 years, leaving them behind. Suddenly, a message came through on the radio. It was from his colony. The moment they heard Joel's voice, they were overjoyed. They couldn't believe he had made it this far. Joel shared everything that had happened to him along the way, leaving them shocked at how he survived all this alone. He asked how they were doing, but their voices turned heavy. After Joel left, their colony had been attacked multiple times, and now it wasn't safe anymore. Before Joel could say more, the connection broke. At that very moment, moment, Joel made a decision. He wasn't going to move forward with the captain unless he went back and saved his friends. But as his eyes fell on the fruits he'd been given, something felt wrong. He opened his survival book, and his heart sank. These were the same fruits Boy had once warned him not to eat. Joel panicked and ran to Aimee, but outside everyone was already dancing and laughing in a strange, drunken state. One by one, they began collapsing to the ground. Joel tried to warn Aimee, but before he could, Diana attacked him from behind. When Joel woke up, he saw something horrifying. Everyone in the colony was tied up, and then the truth came out. The captain wasn't a savior. He was a predator. This was his real game. He traveled from colony to colony, looting their supplies. And as for fuel, he didn't have any. Instead, they had captured a massive crab-like monster that pulled their ship, and to keep it alive, they fed it. People from the very colonies they destroyed. As the captain pressed a button on his remote, a dark shadow began rising from the sea. The monster was coming. People screamed and tried to run. Aimee, with every ounce of strength, managed to free herself. She quickly untied Joel too. "Take care of the crab," she said firmly. "I'll handle these three." Aimee grabbed a piece of a gate, charging through gunfire, and slammed into one of the men. Both of them fell unconscious. Meanwhile, the giant crab charged forward. Joel grabbed a steel rod and sprinted at it. The moment the beast leapt at him, Joel struck it hard, flipping it onto its back. The monster thrashed helplessly. Joel rushed in to finish it off, but the captain hit his remote again, sending a jolt of electricity through the creature. With a thunderous roar, it rose back up, and this time, it struck Joel with brutal force. Meanwhile, Aimee regained consciousness, only to find Diana standing in front of her. The two women clashed fiercely, but Diana was stronger. She overpowered Aimee with ease. The crab stormed toward Joel, when suddenly Boy appeared. He stood bravely between Joel and the beast. The crab surprisingly calmed down at the sight of him. Furious, the captain shouted at Diana, "Kill that dog!" Diana lifted a rocket launcher, ready to fire, but Aimee struck her arm just in time. The shot missed. The grenade flew straight into the giant crab instead, exploding on impact. The beast shrieked in pain. Enraged, the captain himself came down. With one brutal blow, he struck Aimee so hard, she collapsed unconscious. That grenade blast had made the crab furious, and now it charged straight at the captain to kill him, but the captain shocked it once again, forcing the creature to turn back towards Joel. At that moment, Joel told the boy to run to Aimee and keep her safe. The boy tried his best to wake Aimee up. Taking advantage of the distraction, the three thieves slipped away, while the creature launched attack after attack on Joel. Just then, Aimee slowly regained consciousness. She spotted a grenade launcher lying nearby and picked it up. Meanwhile, the creature grabbed Joel by the leg. Joel asked Aimee to hand him the gun quickly. Aimee rushed and gave it to him, and Joel was about to pull the trigger when his eyes locked with the creature's. Suddenly, Joel remembered what Mino once told him. You can tell from an animal's eyes whether it is evil or not, and in this creature's eyes, Joel saw no hatred, only pain. Pain caused by the chain tied around it, the same chain that kept shocking it again and again. Instead of firing at the creature, Joel aimed at the chain and broke it, setting the crab free. The moment it was freed, the creature stopped attacking Joel altogether. Joel collapsed on the ground, and Aimee rushed to his side. The crab too moved closer to Joel, but didn't attack, almost as if it wanted to thank him for giving it freedom. Then it turned away and headed straight toward the captain's ship. By now, the captain had reached his vessel. He desperately tried shocking the creature with his remote, but nothing worked. He realized his end had come, and in no time, the freed crab tore all three thieves apart one by one and destroyed their ship completely. With everything finally over, Joel prepared to return to his colony. But Aimee, who had seen his courage, how he saved her and the entire colony, found herself drawn back to him. She asked Joel to stay, but Joel gently told her, "My friends need me. I must go." Before leaving, Joel handed Aimee the book he had written, filled with all the weaknesses of these creatures, so she could fight them if needed. He thanked her because it was through her that his journey had brought him this far and changed his life. And just as he was about to leave, Joel gathered the courage to kiss Aimee. Aimee smiled and said, "You already traveled 140 kilometers just to find me. This time, I'll be the one to come looking for you." So, what do you think? Does Aimee deserve a second chance? Let me know in the comments. See you in the next video.